Hi everybody, my name is Yad, and today we are going to read Bridge to Terabithia, Chapter 6, actually from pages 34 to 35. Now, let's begin. Chapter 6, The Coming of Prince Tyrion. Christmas was almost a month away, but at Jess's house, the girls were already obsessed with it. This year, Ellie and Brenda both had boyfriends at the consolidated high school, and the problem of what to give them and what to accept from them was cause of endless speculation of and fights. Fights, because as usual, their mother was complaining that there was hardly enough money to give the little girls something from Santa Claus, let alone a surplus to buy record albums or shirts for a pair of boys should never set eyes on. What are you giving your girls, friend Jess? Brenda screwed her face up in that ugly way she had. He tried to ignore her. He was reading one of Leslie's books, and the adventures of an assistant pig keeper were far more important to him than Brenda's sauce. Don't you know, Brenda? Ellie joined in. Jess ain't got a girlfriend. Well, you're right for once. Nobody with any sense would call that stick a girl. Brenda pushed her face right into his and grind the word girl through her big painted lips. Something huge and hot swelled right up inside of him, and if he hadn't jumped out of the chair and walked away, he would have smacked her. He tried to figure out later what had made him so angry. Partly, of course, it made him furious that anyone as dumb as Brenda would think she could make fun of Leslie. Lord, it hurt his guts to realize that it was Brenda who was his blood sister. And that really, from anyone else's point of view, he and Leslie were not related at all. Maybe he thought I was a foundling, like in the stories way back when the creek and water in it. I came floating down it in a wicker basket waterproofed with pitch. My dad found me and brought me here because he'd always wanted a son and just had stupid daughters. My real parents and brothers and sisters live far away, further away than West Virginia or even Ohio. Somewhere I have a family who have rooms filled with nothing but looks and who still grieve for their baby who was stolen. He shook himself back to the source of his anger. He was angry too because it would soon be Christmas and he had nothing to give Leslie. It was not that she would accept something expensive, it was that he needed to give her something as much as he needed to eat when he was hungry. He thought about making her a book of his drawings. He even stole paper and crayons from school to do it with. But nothing he drew seemed good enough, and he would end up scrawling across the half-finished page and poking it into the stove to burn up. By the last week of school, before the holiday, he was growing desperate. There was no one he could ask for help or advice. His dad had told him he would give him $1 for each member of the family. But even if he cheated on the family present, there was no way he could get from that enough to buy Leslie anything worth giving her. Besides, Mabel and Brenda for that. Then the price had gone up, and he found he would have to go over into everyone else's dollar to make up the full amount for Mabel. Somehow this year, Mabel needed something special. She was always mopping around. He and Leslie couldn't include her in their activities, but that was hard to explain to someone like Mabel. Why didn't she play with Joyce Ann? He couldn't be expected to entertain her all the time. Still, she ought to have the Barbie. So there was no money, and he seemed paralyzed in his effort to make anything for Leslie. She wouldn't be like Brenda or Ellie. She wouldn't laugh at him, no matter what he gave her. But for his own sake, he had to give her something that he could be proud of. If he had the money, he'd buy her a TV, one of those tiny Japanese ones that she could keep in her own room without bothering Judy and Bill. It didn't seem fair with all their money that they'd got rid of the TV. It wasn't as if Leslie would watch the way Brenda did, with her mouth open and her eyes bulging like a goldfish. Hour after hour, but every once in a while a person liked to watch. At least if she had one, it would be one less things for the kids at school to sneer about. But of course, there was no way that he could buy her a TV. It was pretty stupid of him even to think about it. Lord, you are stupid, he gasped miserably out the window of the school bus. It was wonder someone like Leslie would even give him the time of day. It was because there was no one else. If she had found anyone else at the dump school, he was so stupid he had almost gone straight past the sign without catching on. But something in a corner of his head clicked, and he jumped up, pushing past Leslie and Mabel. See you later, he mumbled, and shoved his way up the aisle through pair after pair of sprawling legs. Limb of her, Miss Prentiquel, you. This ain't your stop. Gotta do an errand for my mother, he lied. Long as you don't get me into trouble. She eased the brakes. No, thanks. He swung off the bus before it had really stopped and ran back toward the sign. Puppies, it said, free. Just told Leslie to meet him at the castle stronghold on Christmas Eve afternoon. The rest of his family had gone to the Millsbridge Plaza for last-minute shopping. But he stayed behind. The dog was a little brown and black thing with great brown eyes. Jess stole a ribbon from Brenda's drawer and hurried across the field and down the hill without the puppy squirming in Brenda's drawer, his arms. Before he got to the creek bed, it had clicked his face raw and sent a stream down his jacket. Streamed in his arms. Before he got to the creek bed, it had licked his face raw and sent a stream down his jacket front. But he couldn't be mad. He tucked it tightly under his arm and swung across the creek as gently as he could. He could have walked through the gully. It would have been easier. But he couldn't escape the feeling that one must enter terabithia only by the prescribed entrance. He couldn't let the puppy break the rules. It might mean bad luck for both of them. At the stronghold, he tied the ribbon around the puppy's neck, laughing as it backed out of the loop and chewed at the ends of the ribbon. It was clever, lovely little thing, a present Jess could be proud of. There was no mistaking the delight in Leslie's eyes. She dropped to her knees on the cold ground picked the puppy up and held it close to her face. "Watch it," Jess cautioned. "It sprays worse than a water pistol." Leslie moved it out a little way. "Is it male or female?" Once in a rare while there was something he could teach Leslie. "Boy," he said happily. Now we had finished chapter 6, but as I said, 34 to 35. Thank you for listening to my video, and bye bye. See you next time.